Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Lori, and welcome to Universally Unique, exploring the neurodiverse world of the extraordinary. This podcast fosters curiosity and understanding about neurodiversity while empowering individuals with tools for acceptance and inclusion in classrooms, the workplace, and communities. Featuring shared stories of neurodiverse life experiences, it sheds light on navigating a world not designed for diversity. Universally Unique starts now. Hi, this is Dr. Noto. My guest this evening is Brittney Etters, and Brittney will be sharing with us her journey as an individual with a late diagnosis of ADHD. But before we get started hearing about Brittney's journey, we're going to take 3 box breaths. I'll count us through those. We're going to do an inhale for 4, a hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and repeat. So we'll start. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and a little sigh. And we're all relaxed. So Brittney, thank you for coming to join us for the podcast. And my starting question is always sort of tell us your journey with your neurodiverse diagnosis, which I know is actually still fairly new to you. So why don't you give us a little overview?
Okay. Well, I was late diagnosed just a few years ago in my late 30s, and kind of always thought something was different about me, but never suspected ADHD, really. People actually told me, like, no, you don't have ADHD, because I got straight A's. I, managed to get by in school without causing any trouble and all that. So I actually heard about, I watched a Jessica McNabb How to ADHD YouTube video, and she was saying like how stimulants work for people with ADHD. And I was like, man, that sounds like me. And that sounds great if that would work like that and kind of calm the voices. And so I kept digging. Finally got, I believe first I went to the person who ended up being my coach, which is Meredith.
Mm-hmm.
And, she was like, yeah, I think you do. And got the psychiatric diagnosis and got on meds. And I was just like, yeah, okay, this is making sense. And as I learned more, I kind of put the pieces together, things that I hadn't noticed or seen. Like the psychiatrist was like, I bet you're kind of late to things or just on time. But I was like, I don't think I'm late to things, because I was never really late, but I was always getting in there at the last minute or 5 minutes late. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see this now.
Yeah. I think our vision of when they say somebody's late, it's like, it's a person who shows up like a half hour after the allotted time that you've set up with them. And there's usually that 5-minute leeway, but it sounds like you were cutting it pretty close. The other thing I think happens is, especially with females, there's usually significantly less disruption in the environment to other people. So it's oftentimes overlooked. I think you and I spoke earlier, and you were like, well, the folks just thought I was sort of a little daydreamy or whatever, but my grades were good, so nobody thought anything of it.
Yeah,
except
exactly.
you. Yeah, who was trying to figure out why all the pieces didn't all always
Yeah.
come together. So it sounds like, since it's still fairly new, how are you how are you working with that diagnosis now? I would anticipate there's a certain amount of relief to now I understand why these things were challenging for me, or maybe even understand why you're maybe more creative or can come up with lots of things really fast and maybe not always finish them. Um,
Like, people with ADHD.
yeah, I know a
Uh,
few.
yeah, I mean, I think it instantly gave me space, gave me grace, allowed me to take some things that I was just throwing on that shame, blame, inner critic, and allowed me to be like, oh, I have ADHD. This is going to be a problem. Let's find a solution, find a different way. Or I'm just going to tell people, like, hey, if you want me there on time, tell me that you need me there 15 minutes early. Or telling people that, like, oh, my time today is 5 minutes off of a regular time. So plan for that. Things like that. It just, which instantly I think helps because it just relieves the pressure. So there were definitely things like that. And then for me, what was really interesting was getting on the medicine for rejection sensitive dysphoria. And so taking that medication really helped with the emotional dysregulation that I was having. So I started to be able to like see what I was doing. I started to be able to say, okay, I see this overreaction. I don't want to act like this, but I'm not sure I can stop it. And then
Hmm.
like it slowly got to where it was more instantaneous that I would have that realization and be able to have that gap to be, oh, do I want to respond that way? Or do I want to respond this way?
Yeah.
And it was just like mind blowing to me to even have that realization and to be able to have that awareness in the moment. So that was really a game changer. It's still, even to this day, is an issue that I deal with, but in having that awareness and in having the grace and in working with people who know what it's about,
Hmm.
it's so much less than it was. And even when I have it, then I can say, this is RSD. All right, we're a little bit out of control. Let's do something to calm down.
Well, and I think the way that you're describing that too is it makes me think a lot of people have a tendency to either believe that when people have neurodiversity that they're using it as an excuse. And one of the things that I find as a practitioner is trying to help those folks understand it's not an excuse. It's just it's part of who you are. So if you didn't have a right arm, it would you would have to figure out how to live without your right arm. You just have to kind of figure out who you are with these other things. It's not an excuse. It's just you have to look at the world differently sometimes. And I like the fact that you're describing that you have that little pause there where you can go, oh, okay, let me think about how I'm going to address this. Or if for some reason it's a day that maybe that little pause isn't there, you at least know where it's coming from. So you're not you're not shaming and blaming yourself, which
Mm.
generally doesn't get anywhere anyway. Could you explain a little bit more about RSD? I would anticipate that the majority of our audience that will come as a new an acronym for them and potentially a totally new area of potential diversity for folks.
Yeah, sure. Um, it's rejection sensitive dysphoria, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It's not recognized in the DSM as part of the ADHD diagnosis. Uh, but I would say 99.9% of ADHD folks you talk to generally say, yeah, oh, that's what that is.
Mhm.
And they relate with it. Uh, I describe it as a it's an overreaction to real or perceived rejection. So it's those moments of, oh, they canceled on me. oh, my world's falling apart. They hate me. And just, all the noise in your head that goes when it might just be that they had a family emergency or something came up with their kid, whatever it is. You don't see that. You just go to the world hates me and this
It's about
person.
me.
Yeah,
It must be
it's
my fault that they're not coming
yeah,
to dinner or wherever it was that you were
yeah.
planning to go.
That's it. That it just feels like rejection, and it feels worse than rejection. It feels like some people get physical symptoms to it, like high blood pressure. Or when my coach described it, she would say like her fingers would swell up like sausages. Like
Oh,
just
wow.
it's a physical thing too. Like you get amped up with all this worry, and then when you get past it, which it can last for hours or days, um, when you get past it, it usually feels like, and you feel kind of drained because you've been like amped up, and then it kind of crashes. And I usually have to take, a while to just do something kind of, mundane, like zone out for a little bit and chill and let myself, rebound from it.
Well, it sounds like it's physically kind of it's like you went out and did some major physical activity and then your body is like that was a lot and then your brain is going.
Hmm.
Not only is it going because of the ADHD, it's going because of the RSD as well. So it's probably going even faster than it normally would. I think one of the things that I'm just not an area that I'm super familiar with, but one of the things that I've noticed as I've done a little bit of research is there's a tendency to try to do a lot of people pleasing. I want to make sure that you are happy with whatever it is that I'm doing. And I would anticipate that at times that means that you've sacrificed something for yourself because somebody else wanted something. And not just we're going to Chinese food instead of Italian. It's probably much bigger things where you've accepted things that were not necessarily what you wanted, but the other person did.
Oh, for sure.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a totally common thing with ADHDers, but I see it a lot in the people that I know.
Yeah.
I think it plays into like all your life, you're kind of told you're doing things wrong or you're forgetting things. So they say that people with ADHD, I think it's like somewhat thousands, more negative messages, right, in our
Yeah.
brains than other people. So I think for me, I outsourced a lot. I was like, well, I must not know, right? Or I must be the problem because that's usually what I was probably told, growing up.
Yeah.
So I think that plays into it. We just think, oh, the other person must know it, the fact that I don't like this or I don't like the situation or the person or whatever. That's just me. I just need to change. I just need to like get with it. And yeah, we'll just go
Yeah.
with what they want to do.
Yeah, which is, I think, definitely not very good for you as an individual. And I know, especially with boys, especially young boys, a lot of their ADHD plays out very physically, and they start to get that message of, well, you're a bad kid, or
Mhm.
you're the kid in the class who's always causing the disruption. And even when they're not doing that, people tend to not remember to give them positive praise, so they get mostly negative. Um, and even if it's just the wow, you're daydreaming, um, it still sounds negative. And it doesn't, unless somebody's going, oh, well, you're using that time to be creative and think of interesting things. But I think the majority of teachers in classrooms are like, hey, stop looking out the window at the butterfly, get back over here and start paying attention to the lesson.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, maybe from all of this though, has become your superpower? Do you feel like you have a superpower from some of the experiences that you've had and the things that you're learning about yourself?
People talk about ADHD superpowers, and I don't know that I don't know that I immediately identify with one. But I saw that question on your list, and I thought about it, and I thought, what I think is the most important thing that's come out of this for me is that I can use what was a horrible experience for me, all this stuff that's happened, all the trying to figure it out. all the struggle and I can take it and give somebody else the gift of like, hey, it's not just you, it's you and me. And hey, you're not this dysfunctional person. We just have to learn to work with your brain. And I can connect with them in a way that somebody who's neurotypical that works with the same population can't necessarily connect on that level. They can understand, okay, this person has executive function problems and we need to do XYZ, but they can't really get into that brain and, share the experience of like, I get what this RSD is. Like, it looks like to somebody else, like, why are you getting so upset over this? And I can be like, I feel you.
Yep.
This is horrible for you to go through right now. So I think that's the power I see out of it, is that I can connect with these people and help them.
I like that. And I think that a lot of times folks don't necessarily think of emotional kinds of things as superpowers. People say, well, I'm an empath, but what exactly does that really mean? Does that mean that you're soaking up everybody else's energy, or is it that you're you're aware of their energy, you understand their energy, and you're able to help them in some way, even if it's only to just sit quietly with them and go, I get it. Understanding, I think, is something that we have a very significant lack of in our current society right now. So I would say understanding is a wonderful superpower, and one that I anticipate is probably incredibly useful in a variety of ways. I know that you do some work with adults that have intellectual disabilities, and I'm sure even if they don't have the same challenges necessarily that you do, you are probably significantly more understanding of the way that they operate in the world than maybe the average person might
Yeah.
be. So, how do you think that we can go about assisting other folks and starting to recognize that neurodiversity is really actually a positive thing and not necessarily something that we see in a negative way?
I think it almost starts just not seeing it in the negative way, just seeing it as the normal way. We are all different, and that's what makes us all the same.
Yeah.
We all have quirks, we all have different ways that our brain works. And I think if we get to that stage and we can have more understanding, um, and go about teaching and interacting with people with that understanding, that then will be so much better, because then those negative messagings that people who are neurodiverse get their whole lives would kind of lessen. And then maybe it leads to that gap of, okay, I'm just a person that needs to do this a different way. I think that's the first step. And then, yeah, recognizing that along with that, you might have a deficit in this area. This might be challenging for you, but that probably means another part of your brain and your personality are on fire. And let's feed into that instead of trying to put you in a neurotypical box and, fill out this test and do these things and get these grades. Like, let's give them more room to shine and feed into those areas, because
Yeah.
they'll deliver us some beautiful things.
Absolutely. And I think as we look at some of the people that maybe are more popular in the world, people that folks recognize, many of those folks say that they have ADHD, that they have, other neurodiversity areas in their life. And these are the people who have like figured out things that probably the average person wouldn't be able to. They've created a lot of situations that are certainly very helpful for many of us. You look at somebody like Bill Gates, who's helped us, by making computers, clearly an individual who is neurotypical, or no, excuse me, neurodiverse, not necessarily neurotypical. But I think, sometimes I wonder if anybody really is neurotypical, or
Mhm.
whether there are some people who are able to cram their round self into a square peg maybe a little bit easier than other folks are, because you're right, everybody has quirks, everybody kind of operates in the world in a slightly different way, and accepting people as individuals is is a much better approach. So it sounds like Meredith has been a real guiding light for you. Is there anyone else that you would say has really had an impact in helping you kind of move forward with your fairly new diagnosis and new understanding of yourself?
Definitely Meredith, my ADHD coach, was amazing because she was really great at turning the things around. And I'd say something like, "Oh, I can't do this," or "When I do this, I always," and she'd be like, "Well, I think, this, look at it this way." And I'd be like, "Oh, you're right. That, I'm awesome because of that." She just had
Yeah.
that magic to turn it around. And that really helped give me the space. And then suggesting the practical, tools and implications, like, okay, you can't do this, let's do this, really helped me, start to see those pathways out. Um, I think to even go back further in my life, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, if you would.
I
Do
I
I
had
mean, were there people in part of your educational experiences who maybe didn't necessarily know exactly what was going on with you, but who really accepted you for who you were and encouraged you?
yeah, my physics teacher in high school. He was great. His name is Ryan. He was the first person, the teacher authority figure that kind of talked to me on my level, kind of understood some of it. And then sometimes he'd also be, he'd also like give me a kick in the butt if I was kind of playing it up, or he could tell I was kind of, and he'd be like, "Really?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay." Yeah, and he said, My classroom's open. Come in anytime, whether I'm teaching or not. If you need space to get away," because I would go off to the corner of the school as far as I could go without getting in trouble, and like chill out. And it was great. And later he found out he had like some anxiety and stuff. So I think we just connected, and it was just great to have somebody talk to you as a person and to be like, yeah, sometimes things are not great. Sometimes things are, I think it was more about like the depression and anxiety, but it all plays in. So he was great. And then Meredith for sure. And I think just the people that I have met in the past year or two with my life coaching school, with the people in my community that I've found that are ADHD, with Meredith's ADHD community, and the people I'm working with now. Like, they teach me all the time, and it's great. So I love that back and forth with them, because I feel like I get so much more out of it sometimes than they do of me. But yeah, they're great teachers.
Yeah, I think you know that my background is in special education, and I think I have learned so much from the variety of different people that I've had the opportunity to work with over the years. And I mean, they bring something to your life that oftentimes is really raw and real and in the moment, where I think many other people in our lives are not always, or they're very, they're anticipating something, so they've kind of shut the doors, where a lot of the folks that I've worked with that have intellectual disabilities are just like, the arms open up, they want to hug you, they tell you how wonderful you are. Granted, they may have told about five other people that in the past like 4.5 minutes, but I think they really truly, it's really
Yeah.
truly with great sincerity. It's not fake. It's not fake at all. And it really does it fills your heart. And it it sounds like from some of the experiences that you've had, that's a that was a good place for you to land,
Hmm.
where you're getting back a lot of positive, so that you can build. And I know that you fairly recently moved yourself, I don't know, several states away from where you had started. So, building community in another community is always, it can be tricky, but it can also be pretty good, because you start looking for people who operate the way that you do and are interested in the same things that you are.
Yeah, you start drawing them to you. Like, I draw all the people. But I had a conversation the other day with a nurse that called me to take some, information before I go to an appointment. And she was like, "I'm so scattered." I'm like, "Well, you're talking to somebody with ADHD. So, join the crew." Like,
Yeah, I said to someone today that I think that probably the majority of folks in my life at this point have some level of neurodiversity, I don't know whether I am intentionally seeking them out or whether we just sort of find ourselves in some of the same places or we're just drawn to each other in some way, shape, or form. But I was trying to think about how many people I actually know that would identify as neurotypical, and I don't think that I have very many. I think most of them identify as folks that are neurodiverse. So tell me, what are you looking forward to, kind of in the future? I know that you're building a life coaching business. So where do you see that going? What's the focus there?
Well, that is a bit on the back burner while I'm working with my current company, working with the intellectual disabilities. So I just got promoted to regional manager there.
Oh,
So thank
congratulations.
you. That'll be my
Yeah.
focus and trying to get more support up where I am in northern Colorado to folks. But
Okay.
yes, I do some life coaching on the side. It's just been a little bit side burner, but I use it every day to connect with these people. And so for that, I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you are probably coaching the people that you're supporting as you said, all the time without even necessarily realizing. So that skill set is just has kind of transferred
Yeah.
into another area. Um, so well, that's a nice, exciting thing. And you haven't worked there that long. So I mean,
Yeah.
extra
Yeah,
congratulations
thank
for
you.
moving up and so fast. Now, you're near the Denver area, or are you a little further away from there?
I'm about an hour north. Yeah, in
So
Greeley.
it's more rural then.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a
little
little
bit
bit more
more
rural, although it's all building up. It's all going to be Denver in a couple of years.
rural. Denver soon. Denver just keeps stretching itself, right?
Yes.
So, it's what I the other thing I'm wondering is what do you do to make sure that you honor yourself and your uniqueness? How are you kind of giving that back to yourself? And I don't, I like the word self-care and other aspects of it in a way I don't like it because sometimes it sounds like you got a manicure and other times it sounds like you're really, taking care of your yourself. So what do you do for that?
Yeah, there is an element of the self-care. I like to have my quiet time. I like to take a bath or do some reading. I think also it's just been a journey of being more authentic, being more in integrity with myself. And that is a huge form of self-care for me because when I'm holding that all back, then I'm not showing up right for anybody, including myself.
Yeah. And I think, my feeling about authenticity is, as long as, and I don't think you are this at all, as long as you're not like a mean and spiteful human being, everybody should just be who they are. Because then if people don't want to be around you, then they're not the right people to be around you anyways. If they
Mhm.
don't like you for who you truly are, then you need a different group of people. And it sounds like
Yeah.
you're really starting to build that at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but we're very close to the end of our time, and I very much appreciate you spending this time with us and sharing your journey of ADHD and sharing some information with us about RSD, which I think is I don't know if up and coming is really the right expression for a diagnosis, but I would anticipate that at some point in time the psychiatric community will start looking at that a little bit and perhaps maybe add it into a revision of the DSM or the next version of the DSM. They have so many different ways that they kind of update things. It does seem like it's something that people need to take a look at and help, to make sure that people who are really working with this have the resources that they need. And it's not just like, oh, you're oversensitive.
Exactly.
I mean, there are some folks who are probably a little oversensitive. This goes significantly beyond that to a place that is impacting how you feel about yourself and how you operate in the world. So hopefully the psychiatric world will catch up. Um, I'm sure that it it is becoming more known at this point. But so thank you very much. I very much appreciate you taking the time. And I guess the cat decided to make a run for it.
She
Didn't
did.
it
She stayed for about
didn't
half of it.
didn't want to be on the didn't want to be in the video any longer. So
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you
guessing
so much
Kat
for
is
having
part of
me.
the self-care though.
Yes, yes, she is. They both are too. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we'll catch up sometime soon.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Universally Unique, exploring the neurodiverse world of the extraordinary. Join me, Dr. Lori, on Transformation Talk Radio every second and fourth Monday at 11:30 Pacific Time as we continue to explore navigating a world not designed for diversity. For advocacy and support for individuals with disabilities, let's connect. Learn more about consulting and life coaching at notoholisticconsulting.com.